Hey everybody, it is July 17, 2007. I'm Sonic Sans. I'm doing a little something about the media in general, as it's generally called. First off, why do we always refer to it as if it's a single entity? Like, the media has, a bias in this direction. Is it like all the outlets of the media? There seems to be a lot of complaining about bias and about problems in general. Most of it can be summed up by bias in the media. And it seems that everyone, on every side, complains that everything is biased the opposite way. The first stuff, I might as well tell you where I get my media from, so you can, gauge how biased I am. I get it from a variety of sources. I have a local newspaper, but I also have, as far as the internet goes, where I get a lot of stuff, right? Look at the BBC, International Edition. I figure they're in a different country, right? So, much as anybody, they're probably removed from my local politics. And the BBC is generally respected. I also look at Al Jazeera. Wikinews is interesting, open source news creation thing. Also Oh My News. There's the Google News aggregator, which is like a whole bunch of media outlets, and they somehow put it through an algorithm, and they just give you a front page of what they think the news is. And then, I watch various things like CNN might be on. Though more so than CNN, I get news from The Daily Show and The Colbert Report. And then, of course, there's various other things like Dig, I guess. I get some news from that. But, a lot of that's just random stuff for your entertainment as opposed to actual news. So, there's what I watch. Do you think of me as biased now? Because I don't watch your media? It's really, really easy to criticize the media. And I'm sure, hey, the media deserves some criticism, alright? For one, I feel there's a herding instinct. A couple news outlets start reporting on a story, and everybody jumps on that story regardless of whether it's important or not. Like, how about the whole Anna Nicole Smith thing? I mean, hey, a woman died, I'm very sorry, other stuff was going on in the world at the time. It's not like most of us even knew who she was before she died, and they made a whole big scandal out of that, And what the heck? Who, and then covering Paris Hilton more recently, right? If I were a news anchor, right? This is how, my broadcast would probably go. We're talking about something, and I'd be like, and therefore the new bill has been proposed by Congress and will be debated this week. And now a brief comment on Paris Hilton. People are spending far too much time talking about Paris Hilton. And now on to business news, the Dow Jones Industrial. I'm just giving you your one sentence, and we're moving on now. Something more important. I mean, I don't know. Or how about the Summer of the Shark? That was the cover on Time magazine, what was it, 3 years ago? I should look that up. Before I start recording. But, I generally respect Time magazine, right? They go, this is the Summer of the Shark. It said on the cover, and it turns out there were fewer shark attacks that year than there were the previous year. So if anything, the previous year should have been the Summer of the Shark. And, they didn't report on it then. Because you gotta run out of stuff to say, and you gotta, that's, and various things like that, So, sure, you can criticize the media. At the same time, I just think you should recognize how flipping easy it is to criticize them, because the media is where we get all our information, right? If you don't like any information, you can just say, it's the media's fault. It's all this bias, and yeah, there may be bias. I happen to believe that most journalists honestly try to be objective. And no one's perfectly objective. I think people try most of the time. There are exceptions on both sides of everything. For one, I think Fox News is a definite conservative bias. Now, you can counter and say, well, yes, but they've done a poll on who's liberal and who's conservative among journalists, and most of journalists are liberal, which would give you a liberal bias. Yeah, possibly. I think you should prove it at somewhat of a higher standard than that. You can't presume that just because the guy is liberal, he must be horribly biased towards liberalism. Slightly biased, sure, but horribly so, you know? Because by that same logic, you would have to say that, well, since the people at Fox News are generally conservative, there must be a horrible conservative bias, which, matter of fact, I think there is, but not because of the fact that they're staffed by conservatives, because of the fact I've actually seen them do reports that just look horribly biased, like the thing where they said Obama grew up in a radical Islamic school, madrasa, and that turned out to be completely false, right? And how do I know it's false? Because CNN investigated it. And you go, wait a minute, how do I trust CNN versus Fox News? Well, Fox News maybe has a couple people sitting around and just saying, oh, I heard that he went to madrasa. Oh, really? You know, and then CNN actually gets a camera and goes to the school where he was raised, or not where he was, you know, where he spent some time at this school. And then they film it, and look at that. There's, you know, boys and girls in the same room, and they're wearing Western clothing, and they, you know, most of them happen to be Muslim. It's not really a Muslim school, you know, that Obama went to. Not at all. Like, there are crazy radical Islamic schools in the world. Obama did not attend one of those. And Fox News published a report, and as far as I know, they never got around to apologizing for that. Meanwhile, CNN is having a bit of a spat with Michael Moore, which he says that they're basically doing libel against him, misrepresenting his facts. And I think I'll do another video of that after I fully investigate. I've looked at these things on both sides, and I'm like, you know, CNN may have something. I mean, both sides seem to agree that the healthcare system is messed up, you know, and we gotta do something about it. But there are certain things on CNN that was like, you know, well, yeah, but you kind of cherry-picked this, and you took this from this report and that one from that report, and you know, I'll do a more thorough thing later. Michael Moore also just sent out an email. He's like, you know, I think it was on the 14th, he said that they haven't issued any apology. But actually, on the 11th, on Gupta's part of the CNN site, he did issue an apology. Not a full apology for everything he said, which I'm sure is what Michael Moore is looking for, but he noticed he made, there's one mistake that he pointed out. And Mr. Moore did not seem to acknowledge the fact that he apologized for that one mistake. I don't know, come on, you know, give credit where credit is due, or something like that. It's really easy, though, to just say, he is biased, and just go with it, in any direction you want. Some people say that the media, you know, is trying to keep us all afraid, so that we'll all, I don't know, support our politicians or something more, because we do that when we're afraid. And some people say that the media is trying to keep us complacent and not afraid, so that, you know, we'll support our politicians and stuff, because apparently we do that more when we're complacent. Are they doing both sides of it? Are they, you know, some people say it's so liberal, and I don't know, things are more conservative. People have, you know, accused not just Fox News of being too conservative on some. How about, you know, when we went to war in Iraq, and there's been a lot of criticism for the media outlets of not really asking all the right questions. You know, not really saying, well, show us the proof on this, you know, on this whole weapons of mass destruction thing. And you could interpret that as a conservative bias, or you could interpret that as a popularity bias. I recently saw a thing in this little show that I found on the CNN website called Reliable Sources. And this one guy said, you know, most journalists won't want to admit this, but most of them, I think, keep one eye on the popular polls, and they kind of tend toward that. So when the president was very popular, you didn't criticize him as much, and then he's very unpopular, and you start putting more criticism on, because you want to increase your viewership, right? You want people to watch you, and so it's easy to just kind of agree with what everyone else is saying, you know, which brings you into the herding instinct of media, doesn't it?